your pitchforks and light your torches, because we're about to cancel a fish lady up in here.
Yeah, I know it's a rake, but it was all I could find. Okay, so apparently we are about to cancel The Little Mermaid. So last week, the famous statue of The Little Mermaid in Copenhagen was vandalized. Someone wrote the text "racist fish" on the stone on which the Little Mermaid sits. Now, my first thought when I heard this was, well, obviously she isn't. Is she? Because we can never know, right? So I did the equivalent of going through The Little Mermaid's old tweets. I actually read the original story, but we'll come back to that a bit later. Because first, there are a couple different ways to look at this situation. There are several different people or entities which this text "racist fish" could be targeting. Of course, many people when they first hear The Little Mermaid think of Disney. They think of the Disney movie The Little Mermaid from 1989. And obviously Disney has got some kind of racist stuff in their past. Like, you know, Song of the South and The Crows from Dumbo and that sort of stuff. And Walt Disney himself was probably kind of racist too. But why would this be about Disney? Because if you wanted to go after Disney and claim that Disney or the Disney company is racist, why would you go after The Little Mermaid? Because The Little Mermaid, that film isn't in itself racist. In fact, Ariel, the Little Mermaid, challenges her family's prejudices and marries a human man, even though they don't want her to go above the water. They think they're scary or evil, the humans. But Ariel don't care. So I don't think that this critique is targeting Disney. Maybe you could argue that the critique was referencing Hans Christian Andersen, the original author of the fairy tale The Little Mermaid. He may very well have been racist. Pretty much everyone were 200 years ago. But honestly, most of his stories are quite fascinated with foreign cultures and teach inclusivity and stuff. They're fairy tales, yes, but they are stories about characters who come from nothing, overcoming the odds and teaching love. One of his most famous stories, The Ugly Duckling, is about a baby swan who lives amongst bullies until he grows up and finds someone who accepts him for who he is. So yeah, I don't think it's about Hans Christian Andersen either. And that brings us back to the story of The Little Mermaid. And first off, the fairy tale is pretty much like the movie. There are a couple of slaves at some point in the story which show up to dance for the prince and the mermaid. But again, it was written more than 200 years ago, and it probably took place even before that, because it was a fairy tale after all. So I don't think that really has any merit. And if we look at the character of the mermaid herself, she's actually even more good and accepting in the fairy tale. You might have heard that the fairy tale ends with the mermaid dying, which is not exactly true. At the end of the story, her prince has married someone else, and as per her agreement with the sea witch, this means that she is going to become foam on the water, which is what happens to mermaids when they die. Her sisters then offer their beautiful hair in order for her to get a second chance of living as a mermaid. The witch then provides them with a knife, which the Little Mermaid is supposed to kill the prince with in order to get her fishtail back and become a mermaid again. But the mermaid actually ends up sacrificing herself, throwing the knife overboard and submitting to her demise. However, this selfless sacrifice actually grants her a chance of becoming a daughter of the wind, which are these invisible fairy creatures that float around helping starving and sick people in Africa for 300 years until she can earn a soul and go to heaven. So the Little Mermaid basically gives up everything. She gives up her voice and her family in order to be with the prince. She gives up her life in order for the prince to live happily ever after. And after that, she commits to another lifetime of helping others. So I feel like the Little Mermaid is decidedly not racist. The only other person I could possibly imagine could be the target of this vandalization is the artist who made the sculpture of the Little Mermaid, Edward Erickson. But I don't think he's actually ever done anything as famous as the Little Mermaid. I don't think he was a slave owner, and it just seems kind of irrelevant in this story. So I guess this means we aren't canceling the Little Mermaid after all. Well, anyways, thank you so much for watching this, and until next time, take care and so long.